Winston, are you ready? Booyah, get over here. All right, people, it is another Viva on the Street. And this Viva on the Street is not about Canadian stuff. This is about American stuff. We are coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the January 6th
Insurrection.
And the Revolver News put out an article. It's a stunning read. It's a phenomenal read, and you have to take the time to read it and watch all of the videos linked into that article. It'll be in the pinned comment. But I think it was in October of this year where I said the January 6th insurrection was not an insurrection. It was a trap meant to be a setup for otherwise trusting Americans who thought they lived in a democracy. To that comment on Twitter, first of all, I got some incredulous responses. I got some people calling me an outright conspiracy theorist. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I am just an analyst. I got some people saying the United States is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. I understand that. Thank you very much for the history lesson. We speak so that people understand us. I said that the January 6th insurrection was not an insurrection. It was a setup meant to trap people. And I got laughed at by some, but not by everybody. The Revolver just came out with a story the other day. And I read that and I tweeted, I think it was today, it might have been yesterday. How many unindicted co-conspirators do you have to have in an event before it ceases being a crime and starts being an orchestrated event? The January 6th event, the insurrection, where they literally prosecuted grandmothers, and I mean literal grandmothers. Not to say that grandmothers can't commit crimes, they can. These particular grandmothers who were prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law arguably committed crimes. But the January 6th you got me there. Get over here. The January 6th insurrection, where they literally prosecuted grandmothers. They literally raided people in Alaska. They literally went after everybody involved with the full extent of the FBI, the intelligence, everybody involved, except for a handful of unindicted co-conspirators who arguably may have been the most active participants in the January 6th insurrection. I can't get my quote fingers out because the dog... Okay. The January 6th insurrection. The Revolver News article breaks it down in such thorough detail that I will not try to summarize the article in this vlog, but I will reference the most important parts of it. They break it down, analysis, video evidence, and everything. But when people say that January 6th might have been something of an orchestrated event, or at least an event allowed to happen to be weaponized for political purposes, the fact that you have multiple unindicted co-conspirators who seem to be either ignored by intelligence or outright protected by intelligence could lead a reasonable person to conclude that when you go after grandma because she was meandering through Capitol Hill after she thought it was okay to enter because the front doors were opened, but they're ignoring the people who literally cut the fences, who literally stood on towers to instruct people as to what to do.
Now, when we look at the organizations that take this destruction and the people who run them, it becomes rather apparent.
You might start thinking there might be a little more to this story, especially the way it has been weaponized to form this January 6th committee that is so after the truth. They have gone from a congressional committee with legitimate legislative purposes to a seemingly criminal investigation team like what you would see in banana republics or dictatorial regimes where you establish congressional committees to investigate alleged crimes of your political adversaries. When has that ever gone wrong? But this Revolver article details what we are referring to as the unindicted co-conspirators, which means people who allegedly conspired in the allegedly unlawful acts, but who are not being indicted, pursued, or otherwise investigated by the FBI. One of them, the main one, seems to be a guy named Ray Ebbs, who by all accounts, by all video evidence, seems to have played an active role in instigating, fomenting, and directing this insurrection. It's not just that he's not being investigated by the FBI. It seems that he might be even being protected by the FBI.
I'm going to put it out there. I'm probably going to go to jail for it, okay? Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol.
Fed. This is an individual who, there's video out there, and I might loop some in right now because I'm walking down the street and can't actually access it right now, but he seems to have been instigating, fomenting, directing, and pushing people to break the law. And it's not just that he did it and got prosecuted for doing it. He did it, did not get prosecuted, seems to be either ignored or protected by the FBI, but everyone and anyone else who followed on the instructions of this guy seems to be getting prosecuted. You have another dude who seems to have been cutting the fences around the Capitol Hill, also documented, identified, ignored, or protected by the FBI. You got another individual who was actually on the towers that they had established around the Capitol Hill the day of, telling people what to do. Bullhorns, by the way, they all had bullhorns for whatever the reasons, and apparently their bullhorns were very similar in terms of color and make, if not the same types of bullhorns. The unindicted co-conspirators, who are either being protected by or not pursued by the FBI, all had bullhorns, same color, same make, instigating, inciting people to do things. Yeah, doesn't matter. You had one guy on the tower telling people what to do, where to go, how to do it.
Truth, but only to win, by any means necessary. Now, when we look at the organizations that make this description and the people who run them, it becomes rather...
Nope. No, don't go after him. Go after the grandma who was literally meandering through Capitol Hill, apparently thinking it was okay to be in there. That's my neighbor. I know that guy. He's hiding. He's hiding. Hold on. We'll be right back. It's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be ugly.
A bloodbath.
Yeah. Okay. Go for it. You go first. You walk faster than me. All right. I forget where I was. We were talking about Ray Ebbs, the guy on the tower directing people, the other guy cutting the fences, unindicted co-conspirators, and then you got one other guy, a fourth individual, who apparently, I did not know this until reading the report in Revolver, the day before, January 5th, was in a big bus spray painted with "Stop the Steal," pro-Trump messages. The bus was pulled over, allegedly had not only firearms but explosives in it, allegedly. And allegedly, everyone on the bus was asked for DNA samples in order for identification. This individual was stopped the day before, not only not arrested, seemingly, although maybe was arrested, but was allowed to go free and participate in the events of January 6th. The same individual who the day before, on January 5th, was allegedly stopped in a bus, spray painted on the outside with "Stop the Steal," and allowed to walk free. And again, another individual who is not being persecuted, prosecuted, pursued by the FBI, who was actively involved in the events of January 6th. And it does lead you to believe, by the way, I bet a lot of you watching did not know that there was an actual stop the day before, January 5th, of a big bus spray painted on the outside with "Stop the Steal," carrying weapons and alleged explosives. I bet a lot of you didn't know that, because if you did, you might ask a little bit more questions as to why they were not a little more fortified on January 6th. You know, fortified in the same way the elections were fortified, why they were not fortified on January 6th to protect what is arguably the most highly protected building in America. You can ask yourself that question. But after you read this article and you find out not just the amount of people that were pursued and prosecuted by the FBI with the full extent of the law and the limitless resources that the government afforded to the FBI, those who were not, and you ask yourself, why are they not being persecuted? Why are they not being prosecuted? Why are they not being investigated? Why are they unindicted co-conspirators in the day that will live in infamy, that rivals 9/11, if you ask any Democrat politician? Why are they not being investigated? You might have some answers which, might not be palatable in terms of the actual events of January 6th. And the way it is being weaponized right now for that congressional hearing, which has turned into nothing shy of an absolute kangaroo court dictatorship persecution of political rivals and adversaries. They call it bipartisan, but Madam Cheney is no more bipartisan Republican than... I don't even know how to finish that sentence. It is not a bipartisan committee. What it is a total witch hunt. It is a total fabrication of a committee to basically weaponize congressional committees, not for the legislative purposes that they are intended to cover, but to turn them basically into the secret police of DC, to go after your political rivals based on a weaponized and totally corrupt intelligence agencies who decides to go after grandmas and people with no criminal records while allowing the most prolific criminals, alleged criminals, potential criminals of the unindicted co-conspirators to walk free, despite every video evidence that we have out there, which might explain why they did not want to release the thousands of hours of video footage that they have of January 6th, because it might possibly potentially reveal a little too much active participation of individuals who, despite facial recognition, clear identification, have been, if not totally ignored by the FBI, arguably protected by the FBI. So I will stand by my tweet of a little while ago. January 6th was not an insurrection. I got it on camera too. Booyah. Thank you. That was totally unscripted, and that's awesome. I forget where I was. It had something to do with January 6th being a total setup, as I predicted a while back. The world in which we live, it's increasingly pessimistic and skeptical. And it's increasingly black-pilled, but through those black pills, every now and again, once you digest them, everything comes out brown? With that said, peeps, if you like my videos, you like my content, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and you know what to do. That's the worst possible way to end a vlog, but we're going to do it because my hands are freezing cold. Are you cold? Yeah.